Is it just me, or is Bob Arum getting a bit desperate? Because he's been sounding off at Eddie Hearn, becoming increasingly aggressive and hostile towards him in interviews. But not only that, you've got this story here from Golden Boy, where they say that rats and vultures tried to sabotage Canelo versus Kovalev. And the implication, if you read this, is that it was Top Rank, or perhaps ESPN, who knows, but I suspect Top Rank, who were trying to sabotage the Canelo Kovalev fight. It says here, and this is Eric Gomez from Golden Boy, he said, getting this done has been so difficult. There was a lot of vultures and rats involved who tried to mess things up. Once we got rid of them, we were able to get a deal done with Kovalev's promoter Cafe Duva fairly quickly, but there were so many outside influences who were trying to sabotage this fight. I almost can't believe it. We've worked on this for 2.5 months. I thought the Golovkin negotiations were difficult, but this beats them all. And he goes on to talk about, you know, how Canelo feels about the fight. Now, maybe I'm making too big an assumption that Bob Arum was one of the people they were referring to. But I don't know, like for a guy the age of Bob Arum, he's in his 80s, to be getting as worked up as he is over Eddie Hearn. I know he says that you shouldn't take any of this kind of stuff seriously, but if you are a rival of Bob Arum, you wouldn't trust him to tell you the right time in a room full of clocks. I think Eddie Hearn is discovering this now. I think he has been speaking openly about how two-faced Bob Arum has been, because when he was in London, he was saying that, you know, Eddie's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But the very next week, he's slagging Eddie off again. And Eddie Hearn has been treading on toes in the United States. Let's not get it twisted. He's been treading on a lot of toes, and there's been a lot of pushback. Obviously, when Al Heyman first came onto the scene in the United States, Bob Arum was very hostile towards Al Heyman. I mean, he still is to some extent, but he seems to have turned most of his fury now towards Eddie Hearn rather than Heyman. So, yeah, interesting stuff that, again, a guy this old can still be so worked up and seemingly upset over what Eddie Hearn coming into the market and putting on shows and being one of his rivals, you know. It is what it is. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are these the final, and I don't mean this in the literal sense, I just mean in terms of his career, are these the final death throes of Bob Arum? Is his outfit on the decline because of the emergence of DAZN and Eddie Hearn? Or is Bob Arum actually gonna make his way back to the top of the pile in the American promotional picture in boxing? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. He says that DAZN should get rid of Hearn. In fact, he says that they should put Oscar De La Hoya in charge of all promotion on DAZN. That's something which I spoke about in the very early days of DAZN. I was wondering whether, you know, after Golden Boy did their DAZN deal, I was wondering whether DAZN might just get rid of Eddie Hearn, because I believe he's on some kind of like 2-year trial period. And then after that, if they're happy with the job he's done, they may extend it like 6 more years. Because, you know, it was reported as this $1 billion deal that Eddie Hearn had done. But again, it's dependent on him, I think, hitting targets in the first couple years of his, position there with them. So maybe Oscar De La Hoya will become the main sole promoter on DAZN. We'll have to see how the next year pans out. We are not privy to the numbers. We're not privy to the targets that DAZN definitely have in terms of subscriptions. Bob Arum claims that Tyson Fury has driven more subscriptions to ESPN Plus than any fighter Eddie Hearn has on DAZN, or in fact any fighter on DAZN period other than Canelo. And I think he even said all the fighters on DAZN combined haven't driven as many subscriptions for them as Tyson Fury has, other than Canelo, as Tyson Fury has on ESPN Plus. Well, ESPN Plus, to my knowledge, is a lot cheaper than DAZN, isn't it? Isn't it something like $5.99? DAZN is now $19.99, right? And I can't remember how much it is for a year. It's like, is it $100 or $80 for a year, something like that? $19.99 a month. So it's a lot cheaper. So I can believe, to be honest with you, that the subscriptions on ESPN Plus are going to be higher because it's just so much cheaper. You know, it stands to reason, but you have to remember that because the DAZN subscription is more expensive, you're bringing in more money per customer. So, you know, that's something Bob Arum obviously isn't highlighting. But we'll see how Eddie Hearn does. To me, if Eddie Hearn wasn't putting pressure on Bob Arum by his presence and the shows he's putting on, Arum wouldn't be so hostile towards him. The fact that he is so hostile towards him, to me, that's indicative of the fact that Arum sees him as a threat. And that's why Arum is pulling out all the stops to try and get rid of Hearn, to try and get him out of the way. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm out.